All right, we are looking at lesson 15 in our module 5 fractions workbooks. We're going to use the ruler to measure the length of each object in a number of different situations here. It's going to start easy and then it's going to get a little bit more complex. So here we're looking at a full whole number, and that's obvious. When you look at it, you can see that it is 3 inches in length. Now, when we go down here, this is where it starts to get a little bit more complex because now we're looking at increments, okay, in between whole numbers or fractions in between whole numbers. And this is where it's real life related. So again, I've taught you to always look at the hops. 1, 2, 3, 4. So in between all of these whole numbers, there are hops that are essentially fourths. So this is going to be 4 and 1/4. It's going to be 4 and 2/4. This is going to be 4 and 3/4. And then this would be 4 and 4/4, which is going to be equal to that whole number of 5. So we're looking here, we find that it's 4 and 2/4, but we're going to simplify that and we're going to make it 4 and a half. Okay? 4 and a half. And you can see it a little bit clearer, more clearly there. All right, so we're going to move on to our next page in our workbook. Again, doing the same thing. We are seeing that the length is 5 and blank inches, but in this case, the increments are still the same because again, it's all about the hops. We're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4 total hops. So we know that that's going to be 5 and 1/4 inches. Okay, and we look down here, we're looking at our length as for this paper clip, and be very careful that this is all the way at the end because sometimes they will have the object right dead smack in the middle of the ruler and you can't assume that you have to be just real careful when you're measuring it, okay? So here again, the increments are the same. We're looking at 1 1/2, okay, 1 1/2. Simply, again, because that's going to be 1 2/4, and 2/4 is equal to a half. Let's take a look over here at the bug and see. All right, so for the bug, again, it's got us starting all the way at the end, which is a good thing, and it's got us going right about there. So remember, that's going to be less than a whole. So we're looking at our hops, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's 3 pieces or 3/4 of an inch, much smaller. Okay, we can make that darker if we want. So you're able to clearly see those hops and label those hops, right? We know that's 0/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4 is going to be equal to that one whole. All right, moving along here, we have it starting at the end, which is a good thing, and we have it ending right there. And again, it's about the hops. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's 3 wholes and 3/4. And if labeling it makes it easier for you, okay, by all means, please do label it. 3 and 4/4 would be equal to the whole number 4. And it ends right here. So we're looking at the length as being 3 wholes and 3/4 of an inch. Okay, continuing. We are now looking here, and again, this isn't difficult, but it will get a little bit more complex here in a few minutes. So we're looking at the length here of this bug or caterpillar, whatever this little guy might be. Okay, from here to about here. So again, you're still looking at 1/4 inches. So we're looking at 2 and 1/4 inches. 2 and 1/4 inches. Okay, moving on to number 8. Oka says the string is 3 1/2 inches long. Ivan says the string is 7/2 inches long. Who is correct? Interesting. So could they possibly both be correct? Let's find out. So Ivan says the string is 7/2 inches long. So how many half inches are there? There's 1/2 inch. That would be another one. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Guess what? They are both correct. Okay? They are both correct. 7 half inches is equivalent, there's that mathematical vocabulary word, is equivalent to 3 1/2 inches. Okay, I want you to think about that now. 3 inches is going to be how many half inches? 3 inches is 6 half inches combined, and 6 half inches plus another half, and I'm getting that from up here, okay? That would be 6 half inches plus another half is equal to 7, okay? Now, you may choose, again, we went through and looked at the half inches, okay? From here to here is a half, 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 and from here to here is a half. So there are 7 halves if you add the 3 full inches and half of the other one, okay? So I'll pause there for a moment for you to jot that down, and then we're going to move on to the next page. So we're going to keep going, and again, you can go at your own pace, but those of you that need to follow along need to do so, okay? That's okay. All right, so here we go. Use the ruler to measure the length of each object. Again, all of these rulers are in fourths, so as long as we're going from the very end of the ruler, okay, we can make it pretty simple. Okay, so that's going to be 1 1/2, right? Because it's already past that 1. Oh, I am so sorry. That is not correct. It is not 1 1/2. That would be 1 1/2. It is 1 3/4 inches. I'm glad I caught my mistake there. Okay, moving on to the marker. We're looking at the marker, and the marker goes up to 3 1/4. Okay, so we're going to have 3 1/4 inches there. And then we'll take a look at the pencil. The pencil goes all the way over to 2, and then it's halfway between 2 and 3. So it's going to be 2 1/2 inches. And we're going to keep going with this, friends. Keep going with it. We are now at the lesson that I wanted to make sure we had that prior background knowledge to, okay? Because this is where it's going to start to get a little bit more complex. Simply because it's not labeled. They've started to take the whole numbers out. And so we have to put those whole numbers back in and make sure that we can label our halves and our fourths. So we have a whole number 1 here and a whole number 2 here. Obviously, it's stretched super long. So the ones that are stretched super long are going to be your whole numbers. And that's marking on a ruler. That's a real life connection there. So that's going to be 1, 2, that will be 3. This long stretch here will be 4. This long stretch here is 5, and then this one over here would technically be 6, okay? So now it's asking us to label the halves. The halves are going to be the second longest little strip there. So that's going to be 1 1/2. This here is going to be 2 1/2. This here is 3 1/2. This here is 4 1/2. And this here is 5 1/2. Okay? So we've labeled the missing numbers. We have labeled the halves. Now we're going to label the fourths. And they've already showed you a little demonstration here, so it's not too difficult. But, okay, this is going to be 3/4. This is going to be 2 1/4. And this is going to be 3/4. And remember that 1/2 is equivalent to 2 out of 4. Okay, so 1 out of 4, 3 out of 4, 1 out of 4, 3 out of 4, 1 out of 4, and 3 out of 4. Okay, so complete each statement. 1 inch is equal to blank half inches. 1 inch is going to be equal to how many half inches? Well, we've got, this is 1/2 right here. Okay, we can darken that. That's 1/2, and that is 1/2. So 1 inch is equal to 2 half inches. 1 inch is equal to how many quarter inches? Again, it's about the hops. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so we'll do that in the center there. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the answer is 1 inch is equal to 4 quarter inches. 1/2 inch is equal to how many quarter inches? So let's take a look at a half and how many hops going this way. We get 2, right? So 1/2 inch is equal to 2 quarter inches. Okay? Let's take a look at this next piece because now we're going to partition our 1 inches into eighths. Again, friends, you love to ask, how is this real life? It's real life because you're going to have to use measuring tools in a lot of different fields of learning. Okay, so we're going to partition 1 inch into eighths and label the eighths from 0 to 1. 2 eighths. So we've got 1 piece out of 4, 1/2, 3 pieces out of 4, 1 whole. Okay, so we're going to partition this into eighths now. In order for us to do that, this is going to be 1 piece out of 8. Okay, 1/4 is going to be equal to 2 pieces out of 8. And then continuing along there, okay, 1/4 is equal to 2 pieces out of 8. 1/2 is equal to, oh, we forgot this one, 3 pieces out of 8. 1/2 is going to be equal to 4 pieces out of 8. Then we stick this one in here and we have 5 pieces out of 8. Then we have 3 out of 4, which is equivalent to 6 out of 8. And just for the sake of us always boxing our equivalent fractions, I'm going to go ahead and box those equivalent fractions for us. Okay, so this is going to be 6 out of 8. This would be 7 out of 8. And then we know that that would be, in fact, 8 out of 8. Okay, so again, you're looking to see, okay, on a smaller ruler, if you were to divide it, you would divide it so that it was in those increments there, okay? You're essentially dividing in those sections as well. That's what you're doing. Because again, we're simply trying to make it into 8 pieces now instead of 4. And we can do those hops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, and we do that into eighths. So those eighths will come right in between those fourths. Okay? All right, so we're going to move on to the next page here in just a second. All right. Now, this is again where you're going to see questions like this on some type of standardized test here. This, my friends, is called a line plot. Okay, a line plot. And when we read a line plot, it's a bit different from reading just a graph, but we can get a lot of data from that. We can get data points. Okay, so the students in Mr. Lopez's class measure the length of pencils. They record the data on a line plot. We have our title of our graph here, and then we have our number line going from 0 to 6 1/4. All right, how many pencils did the class measure? So we don't have any type of key that tells us that the X is going to represent anything other than 1 pencil. So we're going to go with that and count. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. So it looks like the class measured 23 pencils. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Which length occurs most frequently, or what would be the mode? The mode, or the length that occurs most frequently, is going to be 5. But that second part of the question is, how do you know? So how do we know? We know because it has the most X's on the plot. It has the most X's on the plot, period. Okay, next question. How many pencils are at least 4 3/4 inches long. So that means they're at least equal to that. So that means we're going to take this data and not use it, and we're going to count the data from 4 3/4 on, because it says at least. So we have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. 17 pencils. Okay? Letter D. Luke says there are more pencils longer than 5 inches than there are pencils shorter than 5 inches. Do you agree? So let's take a look at 5. Longer than 5, not including 5. Longer than 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we have 8 on this section. Okay, on that section we have 8. And then over here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And then on that section we have 15. So I don't know about you friends, but I'm thinking that it's the way that Luke has worded this, because he's saying there are more pencils longer than 5 inches than there are pencils shorter. So I'm going to say that Luke has misunderstood or has miscommunicated his thoughts there. Okay, and I'm going to disagree with him. I disagree because it's not going to be longer than 5. It would be equal to 5 or longer than 5 in order for that to work out. Okay, I disagree because he didn't say 5 inches or more. So we can't include 5 in our count. Okay, we just counted and we found it was a ratio of 15 versus 8. Okay, 15 to 8 based on his statement there. And that was again looking up here at the top, because he said that longer than 5, meaning 5 1/4 or longer, and that is not correct. Okay, letter E, Mr. Lopez finds one more pencil in his desk. He says the length of the pencil is 11/2 inches. Where should the length of this pencil be plotted on the line plot, and how do you know? Well, we did this one before where we were looking at 1/2 inches. So how many inches? There's 2 inches in every inch, right? So if it's 11/2 inches, 11/2 inches is going to be how many? 5 is 5 whole inches, right? Is 5 whole inches, and half, 11/2 inches is 5 whole inches and half of another inch. So it's going to be 5 1/2. Okay, 11/2 inches is going to be equal to 5 1/2. A 1/12 inch would make it equal to 6. Okay, all right, and we are going to stop there for today. And if you have any questions, you know to ask. I am here to help you. Okay, and I will see you in the next lesson.